Hello, good evening. I'm Earl Gibbs. Welcome to Speaking of Everything. With me this evening, you all know this lady. It's Henry. She's Secretary General for UNESCO St. Martin. How are you doing?
I am fine, thank you. And thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for accepting the invitation. You're a very busy lady.
I do try.
Yeah. So how are things going these days?
Well, in terms of UNESCO, I have to say things are going pretty well.
Yeah.
As it relates to St. Martin's documentation of its intangible cultural heritage, that has been something that has been a top priority for the UNESCO office over this past few years. And I have to say that we have been successful in the process of finding out what is St. Martin's intangible cultural heritage, and we are now going to be looking into the process of analyzing the data. But maybe I should take a step backwards.
Okay.
What we did this year, the UNESCO office, along with the Department of Culture, we decided to launch a intangible cultural heritage survey. And this cultural heritage survey was asking the public to identify what is St. Martin's cultural heritage as it relates to, for instance, things such as our clothing, things as it relates to our food, things as it relates to our music, our craftsmanship. So even certain things such as our sayings, our proverbs, we ask the St. Martin community to tell us what it is. What do they recall to be St. Martin's? And I have to say that along with the Department of Culture, we have been able to collect 236 surveys from the public, them telling us what they think it is. What is surprising from this survey that we have been doing is that we're also seeing that the transferal of what is St. Martin's cultural heritage is not being passed on as it should be to the next generation. So for instance, such as St. Martin food, there are certain things that we realize that one of the, how should we say, the popular responses to that question, you would always hear the chicken leg and Johnny cake, which is one aspect in terms of a snack, which is normally affiliated with the carnival festive nature.
Also affiliated with politicians.
Oh, yeah, if you want to say that too. But there are other things that are St. Martin as well that we, such as our rice and peas, our conchs and dumplings, our fish, and things of that nature, that we are noticing that the young people themselves don't know. Our locals don't know. So this told us that this information needs to be documented, which is what we're doing along with the cultural department. And then after the documentation and analysis part, then we need to start the documenting process.
But how representative was the work? The reason I asked that question is because there are many people in St. Martin that you might think they're St. Martin, but they're not from St. Martin.
Correct. And what we have done, what we tried to do with this survey, we took it to the schools. So we know that there are persons within the school system who are from St. Martin, but who may not be, but they have resided on the island for many years, and they can be able to give us knowledge as relate to that. We also take it to the senior citizens. We also took it to persons from different businesses within the community. So what we try to do is to get a cross-section of the people within the St. Martin community to give us that opinion. And you are right, there are some persons who are not how we might say born here persons, but they have lived here for many, many, many years, and they consider St. Martin to be their home of choice. And we wanted their opinion, being here for so long, what do they know about St. Martin?
But you know, my idea of culture, and I think most people agree, you know, culture is a people's way of life.
Correct.
And it's dynamic, it evolves, you know, but I see in our culture in St. Martin something I don't see anywhere else. You know, in most cultures, you have a dominant culture, subcultures.
Correct.
Our so-called dominant culture is really not dominant at all.
Correct. It's not visible as it should be. And that's one of the goals of this particular project, to make the core culture of St. Martin more visible. And this is something that we're going to do along with the cultural department, make it be visible in terms of our schools. The children need to know. Make it visible in terms of our visitors. We need to have documents, brochures, newspaper, something documenting what is St. Martin. And not for us, like you mentioned, for it not to be the core and dominant culture. It needs to be.
So, any surprises so far in the last 3 years?
Well, as it relates to culture, well, what I have noticed with culture on St. Martin, which I'm very happy to see, that there is becoming this sense of pride of wanting to preserve the core that is here now. For instance, I was so proud with Yumi Demoy and the St. Martin Crafters Association when they had that culture parade. That culture parade where they were trying to depict different kind of St. Martin clothing, different kinds of aspects of St. Martin's, let's say, way of life, like the fishermen and things of the marketplace. I was so proud to see with that parade, they were bringing aspects of St. Martin's culture to the forefront. Then I also have to give some credit to the culture department as well. They have been having this discussion about our cultural identity. So I am seeing, and even the University of St. Martin and other institutions have been bringing the focus of culture, focus of St. Martin to the forefront. So I am seeing that it's no longer being considered something that we all should know. Yeah, we all should know what it is, but we're going to bring it to the forefront and not be ashamed of it. That's what I've seen.
I'm laughing, I'm thinking because we are so eager at adopting everyone else's culture. I think probably maybe 2 years from now we'll be celebrating Thanksgiving on the fourth Thursday.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised because I was surprised this year too, where I saw the Facebook social media, for instance, and a lot of the different schools, one or two schools that I realized, and individuals themselves are wishing Happy Thanksgiving. And I was like, Happy Thanksgiving? Do they know that we have a Thanksgiving Day, the ending of the hurricane season, and it's not really affiliated with the November 24th or 25th, you know, that of the United States. But you have a point. With culture being so dynamic, I won't be surprised. But we have to ensure that what is core St. Martin needs to be visible, needs to be reinforced.
So did you all, is UNESCO, right? UNESCO put in a lot of money into this?
UNESCO has put a lot of money to this. And I would say that our Dutch government, the Netherlands Department of Education, their Ministry of Education has also put lots of money into it. Throughout the year of 2016 and 2015, there have been a number of capacity development training for personnel like myself and personnel from the culture department to ensure that we are aware as to what the Convention on Intangible Cultural Heritage means. So we got the training, which was funded by the Dutch Ministry and UNESCO, to ensure that all different personnel from the different, the Dutch Kingdom, the islands as well, and Netherlands, that we have this conversation with each other and see the significance of having our intangible cultural heritage documented. So both our Ministry of Education and UNESCO have invested, I would say, over the last 3 years. I'll even add a third one, because I was even told that next year there will also be funding being made available for us as a kingdom to ensure that within a year or two that we can submit items for UNESCO to be voted upon, to be considered to be part of the intangible cultural heritage list. So these are things that are being done.
Can I be a part of the list?
Of course.
Or give live
well, that is something that I was going to bring to your attention. There is another UNESCO program that I have been working very hard on this year as well, which is the Memory of the World program. And with the Memory of the World program, here we're focusing on the documentary heritage, meaning you documented the film, which I know you have done over these years. You have these film of persons and different topics of for St. Martin over what, past 25 years? How many years?
33 years.
33 years. So this is something that UNESCO would consider the country. They always ask the host country first to identify things of documentary heritage and significance that we would like to have part of our national registry. So definitely your film and your footage is something that can be considered for our national registry. And then if we can show how significant it is for the region and international, perhaps we can have it submitted to the international registry. So maybe, Earl Gibson.
You never know.
You never know.
UNESCO, and you think the people of St. Martin are using your office the way they should?
Well, I will have to say that there are some persons who are familiar with UNESCO who have been coming to the office and have been benefiting from it in terms of, one, knowledge, information as it relates to many UNESCO programs, and also the possibility of the different nominations that someone, or prizes that someone can obtain from UNESCO.
Yeah.
Persons have also been coming to the office as it relates to funding. I always mention that UNESCO is not a funding agency, but every 2 years it makes funding available for persons who might have projects as it relates to education, culture, science, communication, and information. And I have to say that over these past 2 years, persons have been able to receive funding from UNESCO. Over the past few years, we have had over four different organizations this year in 2016 that have received funding, and they have received funding from $16,000 up to $26,000.
No, they just can't walk in and say, well, you know, Ms. Henry, I need $15,000. That's my idea. How it works?
How it works, there is an application process, just like every funding, where you have to mention what are the objectives of your project, what are some of the reasons that this project has been bring to the forefront, how can it benefit the community, because UNESCO is always looking at that aspect, how it's going to benefit the masses. And then UNESCO also want to see that you will be utilizing the funding properly. So there is an application form that is about 2 or 3 pages long. They will have to work out all of that information in detail. And I do provide the opportunity to assist the persons with that. So there is that process. The second process would be after I find that the information, everything is ready to be submitted, then it goes to our Paris headquarters. And there at the UNESCO office is when they say, yes, we approve this project because it fits in line with our objectives for education, it fits in line with our objective this year for culture, science, and so forth. So that is, and the process does take a while, so I do need to let persons know it does take a while. It can take up to 5-6 months, depending.
No, that's not that long.
Well, for some people who want the funding right now, I have this great idea and I want to get this done. You know, some persons would see 1 month as being too long, but it takes a process because there are certain times when the project is still vague in terms of what the goals and objectives are, and UNESCO would send back and say to me, please have this person provide additional information or have them detail the budget some more. So the process can take a while.
Now, is this funding only for organizations, foundations, or also individuals?
Well, it is for we always look at non-funding agencies first. Those who are registered with Chamber of Commerce, we always have to make sure that that is fine. But then there are also individuals who can receive funding as well. There was a time when, and there's still a possibility, if you would like to receive some kind of study grant from UNESCO. Again, if the you see a field of interest is something that UNESCO approves, you as an individual can receive that funding. And we have had recipients of study grants
And,
as well.
and now a 75-year-old can't come into consideration for a grant. Is that age limit?
There is an age limit, and the age limit is normally persons, let's say, in their 30s or 40s. I would say the cutoff might be the 40s or something of that nature, because you're always looking at return
After
on it.
40-year-old.
Yes, you're 40-year-old. You're always looking at the return on investment as well. So you have to look at it from that perspective. They receive the funding. How much more years could they contribute their skill and knowledge to the society? That's what UNESCO looks like.
See, that's why I'm asking this question this time around. You've been here before.
Yes, I have
It's
been.
interesting because when people hear about money and funding,
Yes.
you can get 1,000 requests tomorrow after the show
And it's
airs.
true.
And you can get it from all ages, right?
Yes, all ages. And there are some specifics as well. And that's why I always entertain person come to the office, because with the interviews, you can only provide so much information, but they can always come to the office.
They're always welcome to come. Where's the office?
Yes, right now my office is located across from Penny's. Upstairs,
Yeah.
right upstairs,
On the back street?
down the back street.
Oh, okay.
But by January, I will be relocating. January, I will be relocating to where Sachiko is on the Pondfield.
Yeah.
You know where the Air Leckerbeck is.
Yeah.
Across right next to Sachiko, where the Department of Education and Innovation used to be.
Yeah.
I'm going to be within that building with them. I'll be sharing the space with them.
So you have a bigger office?
I will have a bigger office.
That's nice. so what surprised you most about this work? How long you been doing it?
I have been been part of this UNESCO organization. First, when I was quite younger, I did it at a voluntary basis. I did it for 6 years, way back in I think in the 2000.
Yeah.
I think either 2001, 2000. No, take it back to 2001, 2002.
Yeah.
And I volunteered for a period of time up until we got the 10-10-10.
Right.
So if we did 10-10-10 minus 6, 2004. So from 2004 to 2010, I volunteered and I did it for our government back there and then. And whatever was related to UNESCO, I was responsible for ensuring that St. Martin had representation and that St. Martin received the information when we were part of the Netherlands Antilles.
Yeah.
And then when we became a country, then I decided, well, after thinking about it for a while, then I applied for the position when it became available, the Secretary General for UNESCO. So from 2012, December 2012 was when I was officially appointed till now. So I'm going up to 4 years now
4 years, all right.
that I would be in this position.
What are your plans for 2017? You have big plans?
For 2017, some of the plans that I have, one, we will be having the upcoming UNESCO Youth Conference. We always have the youth conference in October leading up to the general conference, where we select at least 2 individuals from St. Martin to go and represent St. Martin at an international level. And at this youth conference, they're able to network with over 200 young people, exchanging ideas, learning different things about the UNESCO organization, and also building on their professional skills as well. So that is something that I will be doing along with the youth department, selecting 2, significant, spectacular young people from the community to represent St. Martin internationally. I have to say that over the years we have been able to have great representation. We had Mr. Ralph Cantav, who was able to represent St. Martin. We also had our Marjorie Ramirez, who also went and represent. We even had Mr. Kenneth Serrant. He also went and represented St. Martin over the years as a UNESCO representative, and Melanie bourgeoisie. So we have had great dynamic young people who have been exposed internationally, being with around other young upcoming leaders of our of the world, the next generation. So
What's
that
the
is a
cutoff age?
significant. The cutoff age, UNESCO always starts with about 18 years, and the cutoff age is 23. So persons between that category of 18 to 23, they can make the applications, and we will be doing that from February. We will be soliciting the best persons to participate in the upcoming youth conference.
So there's an application that has to be filled out by the
Yes,
applicant.
and all of that will be in the newspaper. It will be on the UNESCO Facebook page and on the UNESCO website. So we will have that available for other young people who would like to participate.
So only 2 persons will be selected.
Well, if there is more funding for us to allow more, we would definitely have more. But our target to have at least 2 young people to represent St. Martin at the youth conference next year.
Where that's going to be in
That
2017?
is going to be in Paris. It's always
always in Paris?
Always in Paris. So young
Okay.
people get the opportunity to go to Paris, France, for this conference. I know it's a wonderful
They want to say
opportunity
great city,
to be in Paris. You know, so that is something that we are looking forward to. Next year, I'm also looking forward to having conferences be held here
Really?
on St. Martin as well.
Okay.
One, like I was mentioning before, on intangible cultural heritage.
Right.
We're going to have a national consultation where we're going to get persons in the community to validate what they think is St. Martin cultural heritage based on the survey that was conducted. I'm also going to have another conference with the Memory of the World, as I was mentioning, mentioning the documentary heritage, the films or pictures, maps, and so forth, things that are of heritage significance.
Yeah.
That too will be coming to St. Martin.
Wow. So you have a busy schedule in
A
2017.
very busy 2017.
And when youngsters are selected for the youth conference in Paris, you all give them spending money, etc.?
We provide them with all of that. Because the great thing with UNESCO, UNESCO sponsors One Youth. So with UNESCO sponsoring One Youth, then we are able, if there is budget, we might be able to get 2 other persons to go. So there could be 3. We did have a 3rd person the last time that we had Anissa Daykoff.
Yeah, she was there,
yes.
yeah.
So we were able to have 3 the last UNESCO General Conference. So that's what we're shooting, to have 3 or 4 if possible.
Well, Ms. Henry, thank you for coming in. Anything else you want to add?
Well, I would like to say that for persons who would like to find out more about UNESCO and St. Martin office, I will tell them to visit our website, www.unesco.sx. So they can visit the website to find out some of the things that we are doing. And then we also have our Facebook page, UNESCO St. Martin. So they can also go there and find out some of the wonderful things that UNESCO St. Martin is doing for our island.
All right, I want to thank you again for coming in and much success.
Thank you so much.
And that's it for now. See you next time right here on Speaking of Everything. Until then, good night. Take care. Bye.